The heartbreaking murder story that shook everyone. True crime documentary. In a quiet town like Macon, Georgia, life often feels slow, safe, predictable. Streets are lined with modest homes, neighbors greet one another, and everyone knows your name. But even in places that seem untouched by darkness, tragedy can arrive without warning. June of 2011 was supposed to mark a bright new chapter for Lauren Giddings. At just 27, she had recently graduated from Mercer University's prestigious law school. Friends and family described her as intelligent, driven, and compassionate, a woman with a clear path ahead, and the kind of presence that left a lasting impression on everyone she met. Her ambitions were lofty, but grounded in a desire to serve, to make a difference, and to leave a meaningful mark on the world. And yet that summer, something sinister slipped into Lauren's life, a hidden shadow. Invisible to the world, yet chillingly close. What began as a subtle unease, objects slightly moved, a strange feeling of being watched, soon escalated into the unthinkable. Lauren, a young woman with her whole life ahead of her, vanished. Her disappearance would shake the community, puzzle investigators, and ultimately reveal a horrifying truth. The threat had not come from a stranger, but from someone living right next door. This is a story of trust betrayed, of ambition cut tragically short, and of a community forced to confront the terrifying reality that evil can hide behind familiar faces. Lauren Giddings' story is not just about a crime. It is a reminder of how fragile life can be, how quickly normalcy can fracture, and how darkness can lurk where least expected. Tonight, we will retrace Lauren's final days, explore the investigation that followed, and examine the mind of the person responsible. It is a story that is as chilling as it is heartbreaking, and one that continues to resonate more than a decade later. Macon, Georgia, is a city defined by its calm rhythm. Small streets wind through quiet neighborhoods. Magnolia trees shade sidewalks, and the gentle hum of daily life carries a sense of predictability. The city, steeped in southern charm, rarely makes headlines for violence or crime. To outsiders, it seems peaceful, almost untouched by danger. In the spring of 2008, Lauren Giddings moved here from Maryland, seeking a new beginning. The town's leisurely pace suited her perfectly. She settled into Bars Hall, an apartment complex designed for law students, just across from Mercer University. From the outside, it was unremarkable, a place where ambition quietly thrived behind closed doors, where study sessions and library visits were the norm, and where neighbors exchanged friendly nods without suspicion. It was the kind of environment where people left doors unlocked, where a sense of trust was inherent, and where the presence of a student like Lauren, bright, kind, diligent, blended seamlessly into the fabric of everyday life. But within this calm, ordinary town, beneath its surface of southern serenity, something malevolent was taking root. The apartment Lauren chose, her routines, the people she trusted, all became pieces in a puzzle that no one could have predicted. In a city where everyone knew everyone, the last place anyone expected danger was right next door. And yet the shadows of that June would reveal a terrifying reality, that evil can live among us. Quietly, patiently, until the moment it strikes. June 25, 2011, began like any other day for Lauren Giddings. She was deeply focused on preparing for the Georgia bar exam. Books sprawled across her desk, notes filled every available surface, and her dog Butterbean lay quietly nearby, the only companion in the stillness of her apartment. To the casual observer, it was a scene of calm diligence, a young woman on the brink of achieving her dreams. But beneath the surface, something felt wrong. Lauren noticed subtle anomalies. Items slightly shifted, shadows that seemed out of place, an unsettling sensation that she was being watched. Though there were no signs of forced entry, a creeping sense of danger began to take hold. That evening, she sent an email to her long-distance boyfriend, David Vandiver, expressing her unease. His response was reassuring, suggesting it might just be stress, isolation, or overactive imagination. As the day faded into night, Lauren withdrew further into her routine, but her absence over the next hours soon became alarming. Calls went unanswered, messages left on voicemail. Her friends and family initially assumed she was immersed in study, Yet concern grew when days passed without a word. Her car remained parked outside Barr's hall, her belongings undisturbed, a silent testament that she had not left voluntarily. By June 26th, the realization that something was terribly wrong began to crystallize. Friends attempted to check her apartment, using spare keys, only to find scattered possessions and a chilling emptiness. It was clear Lauren had vanished. The community mobilized. Friends, neighbors, and her ex-boyfriend Joe scoured the surrounding area, retracing her steps and searching for clues. Yet no one could explain her disappearance. There were no witnesses to abduction, no signs of struggle beyond what Lauren had feared might already be happening inside her own home. The calm streets of Macon had transformed into a labyrinth of questions, suspicion, and growing dread. Every familiar corner of her neighborhood now felt tinged with fear, every shadow a possible threat. As authorities were called and initial searches began, a chilling realization emerged. This was not a case of a student missing from her apartment. Something far more sinister had occurred, and the truth, when revealed, would shock everyone who had ever walked past Lauren's door without a second thought. On June 30th, 2011, police intensified their investigation. Entering Lauren's apartment, they observed an unsettling calm. Nothing had been stolen. There were no obvious signs of a struggle, but forensic investigators noticed irregularities. Using luminol, a chemical that reveals hidden traces of blood, they discovered patterns in the bathroom that suggested a violent act had been meticulously cleaned. The search expanded outdoors. Officers combed the area, devising new strategies as the Georgia summer sun bore down. Then, a sudden gust of wind carried a stench unlike anything they had anticipated. Standing near trash bins, detectives were confronted with the unmistakable odor of human decay. Inside a black garbage bag lay a torso, human, unmistakably female. Testing confirmed the worst. It was Lauren Giddings. The discovery sent shockwaves through the local community. Law enforcement, initially puzzled by the lack of forced entry, now faced the horrifying reality of premeditated murder. The methodical cleaning of her apartment, the careful disposal of her body, and the absence of immediate suspects suggested a perpetrator who knew Lauren intimately and had planned the act meticulously. For her family, arriving from Maryland, the devastation was unimaginable. Parents, sisters, and friends were confronted not just with her death, but with the betrayal implied by someone so close. The town that had once felt safe became a place of suspicion, fear, and disbelief. How could this have happened in a city where neighbors watched out for one another, where life moved at a leisurely pace, and where Lauren had been just another bright student next door? Authorities began piecing together timelines, witness statements, and early evidence. But one question loomed above all. Who had the access, the knowledge, and the opportunity to commit such a cold, calculated act? The answer, when it emerged, would shock everyone, revealing the terrifying reality that the most dangerous person may be the one living right beside you. Lauren Giddings was more than a victim. She was a bright, ambitious young woman whose life was defined by purpose, compassion, and drive. Born in Maryland, she was the eldest of two sisters, Sarah and Caitlin, and was adored by her parents, Karen and Bill. Those who knew her recall a young woman of rare intelligence, wit, and emotional depth. Her dog, Butterbean, was a constant companion, reflecting the warmth and kindness she extended to every living being around her. From a young age, Lauren displayed an unyielding sense of justice and empathy. Her desire to become a public defender was not motivated by prestige or financial gain. It was driven by a genuine desire to advocate for those who had no voice. She excelled academically, impressing professors and peers alike with her sharp intellect, dry humor, and level-headed approach to challenges. Her personal life was marked by deep connections. Lauren's relationship with David Vandiver, though long distance, was a testament to her capacity for loyalty, trust, and love. They supported each other through personal and professional hardships, forming a bond that many admired. Even her brief relationship with another student, Joe, ended with mutual respect and continued friendship. Friends described her as reliable and thoughtful, someone who would always make time for those she cared about. Her graduation from Mercer University's law school in June 2011 was a culmination of years of hard work, celebrated by family, friends, and David, who admired her resilience and dedication. But behind this image of achievement and joy, Lauren faced the same vulnerabilities as any young adult navigating a new city, career ambitions, and the complexities of personal safety. Her disappearance and subsequent murder sent shockwaves through everyone who knew her. Classmates, friends, and neighbors grappled with disbelief. How could someone so bright, so loved, be taken so violently? The community mourned not just the loss of life, but the loss of potential, the contribution she would have made, the lives she could have touched, and the future she would never see. Lauren's story resonates because it reminds us of the fragility of life and the unseen dangers that can lurk even in familiar, comforting surroundings. Her memory endures in the hearts of those who knew her, a poignant reminder of both the beauty of her life and the horror of her untimely death. Stephen McDaniel, 25 at the time of the crime, was Lauren Giddings's next-door neighbor and fellow law student. On the surface, he appeared ordinary, studious, polite, and protective of his personal space. To those around him, he blended into the quiet rhythm of Bars Hall, just another student immersed in the rigors of law school. But beneath this calm exterior, McDaniel harbored a dangerous duality. His behavior during the investigation raised immediate suspicion. He lingered during police searches, observed officers' movements intently, and offered statements to the media that were inconsistent or performative. While others cooperated, he maintained a careful balance of visibility and distance, appearing concerned, yet never truly contributing useful information. Background checks revealed little overtly alarming, but closer examination painted a picture of a man with a penchant for control and a keen awareness of others' routines. He knew Lauren's habits, her comings and goings, and her vulnerabilities. This familiarity allowed him to plan and execute the crime with chilling precision. Friends and neighbors would later recall subtle signs of odd behavior, watching Lauren closely, showing an unusual interest in her schedule, and maintaining a presence that was always near but never conspicuously threatening. It was this duality, the seemingly normal neighbor hiding dark intent, that would ultimately make him the prime suspect and unravel the mystery surrounding Lauren's death once the horrifying discovery was made. Macon authorities launched a full-scale investigation. The scene was meticulously processed. Forensic teams combed through Lauren's apartment, dusting for fingerprints, analyzing blood traces revealed by luminol, and reconstructing the sequence of events leading to her disappearance. Despite the extensive cleanup, investigators knew that the meticulous nature of the crime suggested someone intimately familiar with Lauren's life and habits. Police interviewed everyone connected to Lauren: family, friends, neighbors, and even acquaintances she had known briefly. Her boyfriend, David Vanderveer, although devastated, was quickly cleared. He had a verified alibi in California at the time. Ex-boyfriend Joe, though heartbroken, had no motive or opportunity. Attention then turned closer to home. Stephen McDaniel, Lauren's next-door neighbor, became a focus. Officers noted his strange behavior during the initial searches, hovering near entrances, attempting to insert himself into investigative efforts, and giving statements to the media that drew attention without offering substance. Subtle inconsistencies in his timeline, combined with his knowledge of Lauren's routines, raised red flags. Physical evidence began to mount. McDaniel's fingerprints were found on items that only someone familiar with Lauren's apartment could have touched. Surveillance footage of the complex, while sparse, confirmed movements that contradicted his statements. Investigators also uncovered items from Lauren's apartment in areas McDaniel had access to, suggesting he had attempted to move or conceal evidence. Witnesses recalled odd behaviors. Neighbors noticed him observing Lauren's comings and goings, and students mentioned his unusual interest in her schedule. The investigation gradually painted a chilling picture. Someone who was outwardly ordinary, yet meticulously planned a violent crime, exploiting the trust and proximity of his victim. As detectives pieced together timelines, evidence, and witness statements, a profile emerged. The killer had to be patient, methodical, and intimately aware of the victim's life. Every small clue pointed to the horrifying truth. The murderer lived just next door, The community that once felt safe now confronted the reality that evil can hide behind a familiar face. Understanding why Stephen McDaniel killed Lauren Giddings is complex, unsettling, and deeply disturbing. Experts who analyzed the case pointed to a combination of obsession, control, and envy. McDaniel lived in Lauren's shadow, also a law student, also ambitious, but he lacked the same recognition and potential. This disparity may have festered over time, evolving into resentment and fixation. Psychologists describe a pattern common among individuals who commit crimes against neighbors or peers. The combination of proximity, opportunity, and perceived personal inadequacy. For McDaniel, Lauren represented both what he admired and what he secretly envied. He saw in her the success he wanted, the recognition he craved, and the life he perhaps felt he deserved. Yet instead of admiration, his feelings manifested as a dangerous, possessive obsession. There was also an element of control. The methodical nature of the crime, the cleaning of her apartment, the calculated disposal of her body, demonstrated a desire to dominate, to rewrite the narrative on his own terms. By removing Lauren, he not only acted on his jealousy, but also exerted ultimate control over her fate. Behavioral experts suggest that individuals like McDaniel often mask their intentions behind a facade of normalcy. To neighbors, friends, and even the police initially, he appeared studious, polite, and non-threatening. But this duality, the outward appearance versus inner obsession, allowed him to operate unnoticed, exploiting the very trust that made Lauren's environment feel safe. The case raises broader questions about human psychology. How envy, obsession, and a need for control can transform someone from a seemingly ordinary neighbor into a murderer. Lauren's death was not random. It was the tragic result of a mind consumed by fixation and the cruel exploitation of proximity and trust. The investigation culminated in Stephen McDaniel's arrest. Evidence, both forensic and circumstantial, was overwhelming. Investigators confronted him with the body of evidence, and his composure began to crack. McDaniel's dual life, the polite neighbor and the violent killer, could no longer be maintained. The subsequent trial revealed the chilling details of the murder. The prosecution painted a portrait of premeditation and obsession. Testimony from forensic experts explained how Lauren's disappearance, the cleanup of her apartment, and the disposal of her body demonstrated a calculated, methodical approach. Witnesses described McDaniel's behavior leading up to the crime, highlighting his obsession and growing fixation. Despite attempts to justify or minimize his actions, the evidence left little room for doubt. The court, weighing the meticulous planning and the heinous nature of the crime, delivered a verdict that reflected the gravity of his actions. Stephen McDaniel was sentenced for the murder of Lauren Giddings, bringing legal closure to a case that had shaken Macon to its core. For Lauren's family and friends, the sentencing offered some measure of relief, though it could never erase the trauma or the loss. The community, too, began to heal, slowly regaining the sense of safety that had been shattered by a neighbor's betrayal. Yet the memory of Lauren and the horrors of her final days lingered, a reminder of the fragility of trust and the consequences of obsession left unchecked. Lauren Giddings' story is a haunting reminder that danger can exist even in the most familiar places. Her life, filled with promise, compassion, and determination, was tragically cut short by someone she trusted, someone she saw daily, someone who seemed ordinary. The case challenges our assumptions about safety, trust, and the hidden darkness within seemingly ordinary people. As we reflect on her life, it's impossible not to feel both grief and admiration. Lauren's achievements, her kindness, and her dedication to justice are a testament to the life she lived, even if it ended far too soon. Her story resonates because it is universal. Anyone can be a victim, any community can be shaken, and anyone can be blindsided by the hidden dangers around them. For those watching, Lauren's story is a cautionary tale. Be aware of your surroundings, trust your instincts, and never underestimate the impact of obsession and envy. But it is also a story of remembrance, of a young woman whose life, though brief, left a lasting mark on all who knew her. In remembering Lauren, we honor her legacy. We confront the darkness, reflect on human nature, and remind ourselves that justice, though sometimes delayed, ultimately shines a light on truth. If you found this story compelling, consider subscribing for more in-depth true crime investigations. Share your thoughts below, and let's continue remembering the lives behind the headlines.